What if I told you that the secret to winning in tennis has almost nothing to do with those epic highlight reel rallies? Well, there's a kind of hidden rule in the game, buried in the data, that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it changes everything.
Yeah, when we think of a great tennis match, this is exactly the image that comes to mind, isn't it? Two players way back behind the baseline, just grinding it out in this marathon rally. It feels like a test of pure endurance, of who's going to break first. It looks awesome on TV for sure. But here's the thing. Is that what's actually happening most of the time? Is that really how points are won and lost? Because when you look at the real numbers, the story is, well, it's completely different. Which brings us right to our first big idea, the long rally myth. For decades, so much of our understanding of tennis and how to get good at it has been built on an idea that it turns out is just plain wrong.
I mean, think about how players have always trained. It's been hours and hours of baseline drills, right? Cross court, down the line, over and over and over again. The entire philosophy was basically designed to get you ready for those long, exhausting points. And this quote just captures that old school mindset perfectly. The logic seems simple. If you practice longer rallies, you'll be better prepared for a real match. Makes sense on the surface, but it's based on an assumption that the data has completely shattered. So let's look at what really happens on the court. Welcome to the four-shot reality. This is where the game actually lives.
Okay, so just look at this chart. It tells you pretty much everything you need to know. A whopping 70% of all points in tennis are over in 4 shots or less. Done. Only about 20% even make it to the 5 to 8 shot range. And those epic TV-worthy slugfests, they're only 10% of the game.
70%. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The vast, vast majority of tennis isn't a marathon at all. It's a series of incredibly short sprints. The match is basically decided almost as soon as the point gets started.
And let's be clear, this isn't some weird stat that only applies to the pros. This is the truth of tennis across the board. Whether you're watching Novak Djokovic in a Grand Slam final or you're playing your buddy down at the local club, the game is won and lost in these short, explosive bursts. Okay, so if the game is all about these super short points, then the big question is, how do you win them? Well, that brings us to the single most important strategy in modern tennis, mastering serve plus one.
So what on earth is serve plus one? It's not just hitting a serve and then, seeing what happens. It's a pre-planned two-shot combo. You use your serve to force a weak or predictable return so that your next shot, the plus one, is an attack that lets you grab control of the point right away. Let's just break down that 4-shot sequence again because it's so important. It goes serve plus one, and return plus one. That's it. That's the whole ball game for 70% of the points. The players who dominate inside this tiny little window are the ones who dominate the entire match. And you can see it everywhere. Look at the pros. Djokovic won a ridiculous 84% of his points in that 4-shot window in a Paris Masters final. At the club level, you don't need a 130-mile-an-hour serve. Just placing it smart to set up your forehand is all it takes, because errors happen fast. And for juniors, man, teaching them this first strike mentality from the get-go is absolutely critical.
So if we know this is how matches are really won, it leads to a pretty obvious conclusion, right? You have to train like you play.
And this right here shows the huge disconnect. Old school practice prepares you for the 10% of points that go long. It's all about being reactive. Smart, modern practice, it builds precision for the 70% of points that are short. It's proactive. It's about starting every single point with a plan of attack. So why should you prioritize this? Well, the reasons are pretty overwhelming. First, you're just going to win more, period. You're focusing on what actually decides the match. You'll also build this incredible tactical confidence because you're starting points with a plan instead of just reacting. It sharpens all the key skills: serve placement, reading your opponent, and that explosive first step. Honestly, it's the smartest way for anyone at any level to get better fast. So let's wrap this all up. The game has totally changed, and the secret now is all about winning in a flash. And man, this quote from the Kooyong Academy just hits the nail on the head. You can have the most beautiful textbook forehand in the world, but if you can't get to the ball quickly enough to execute your plan in those first couple of shots, that perfect technique means absolutely nothing. Modern tennis is a game of explosive movement. So here's the bottom line.
Success in tennis today isn't a war of attrition anymore. It's a game of seizing the first opportunity. It's about precision, it's about planning your first two shots before the point even starts, and it's about winning the sprint over and over again.
Hey, you enjoyed this and want to get smarter about the sports you love. Do us a huge favor and hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed for more. So I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. Knowing that 70% of the points you play are a sprint, how much of your practice time is still spent training for a marathon?